Hey guys, Mr. Pokey here, and for today's episode of Early Access Quadra Zero Cycles, we are going to be taking a look at my experiences featuring Evernight, as well as how her performances are going to be for the next 4 Memory of Chaos, the current Gepard, Lygus, the brand new ML series that is going to be happening, which is going to be, I believe, Judge of Oblivion, as well as Flame Reaver. So, going to be showing you guys at various points of investments. Generally speaking, I would say that Evernight's zero cycle potential, it is largely tied with either her role as a sub DPS with casters, or if you're just going to be running her as a standalone main DPS. Maybe we have some hidden niche comps that maybe Evernight could fulfill, but I've not been testing her enough because we're going to be finding out her in the live server. With regards to the actual zero cycle, I would say for Evernight in particular, it is actually very straightforward. You either deal enough damage running with Hyacinth or just don't deal enough damage, which means that there's not a lot of room for me to actually manipulate and min-max with regards to actually performing enough damage within the 250 action value for first wave as well as second wave. What does I mean to say is because unlike like Final as well as a lot of the other sustainless zero cycles, for example with D-Herda or even Akron, you can go out the potential of running this with RNG, so getting hit, getting the charge with Mimi, getting the additional actions, getting the targeting from the enemies. But running Evernight or running Evernight with casters is really dependent on your entire team's output with Hyacinth, because running without Hyacinth on Evernight is an absolute disaster. I've already tried running Evernight without Hyacinth before already. It is just simply very bad because she constantly drains her own HP every single time you will do your skill. So the entire zero cycle set I'm going to be showing you guys today is mainly going to be focusing on Evernight as a main DPS. For her sub DPS capabilities with casters, it's already done with the very first guy, right? With the full auto zero cycle, it was like super straightforward, which I think is not going to be a very value adding, right? From the very first rotation, she already full auto zero cycle, first half, second half running casters. So for this zero cycle showcase, I'm only going to be featuring Evernight as a solo main DPS from E0 all the way up to an E2 Evernight, just to see how her performance is going to be like, right? So without further ado, let's just jump into the zero cycles themselves. So alright, starting off with the first zero cycle, this is going to be Evernight, Teep, RMC as well as Hyacinth. In fact, we are going to be running this exact same 4 units for every single one of our Quadra zero cycles, because the team building capabilities for main DPS Evernight honestly is just super restrictive. So we're just going to jump right in. The investments are going to be shown over here: E0 S1, E1 S0, Mimi Adele as the Hyacinth E0 S1, right? So Teep is going to be on the E1 for the true damage buff. You can see over here that the main gimmick of running Evernight as a main DPS is to actually try to time up your jellyfish, your EV, to gain as much value as possible, especially before you actually get an E2 Evernight, right? So getting this additional turn pulls up our Evernight. Evernight is going to go for the skill over here, and then afterwards she's going to be going for the additional hit on this guy over here, right? So the main thing you can see over here, I'm going to let my jellyfish die, then respawn my jellyfish using my ultimate, and this is going to be a recurring pattern for the majority of our runs running the zero cycle to get the maximum possible damage in order to generate enough stacks, that would be in this case Memoria, to deal enough damage, right? So afterwards, we're just going to jump in, deal the normal Mimi, getting the charge here, getting a little bit more of the AoE, and then we're just going to go into wave 2 essentially in a little bit, right? So this Mental Ray, I'm sure you guys have also played this before in the current Memory of Chaos rotation. It is very annoying once it activates its Dev's Dance mechanic, because it basically delays all damage into a DOT. So for zero cycle perspective, it's actually very annoying. So you want to try to get rid of this Mental Ray as fast as possible. Getting a little bit of charge, 87%. So at this point forwards, I definitely know at 24%, I am going to be dealing enough to almost get him down. He's going to summon his goons over here, but once we get one more Evernight attack, then this is definitely going to be enough for our zero cycle. So he hits us over here, 100% action, very advanced, brings up our Evernight. We get off one more skill, which will bring us to 20 out of 16. This will hit the main target over here, and then afterwards, everything else is just gonna go into wave 2, right? So he's gonna aim Evernight, challenge you to a duel, but we do get enough energy to basically deal with all the mobs, and after this jellyfish spawns in with Hyacinth, it is definitely gonna be enough to basically deal with the Flame Reaver, right? So barely just enough. Alright, the Goth doesn't do a thing, which honestly is good because we do gain a little bit more of the energy regeneration. So now at this point, we are just gonna go in, do one big blast. Unfortunately, because of the Dev's Dance, we're not gonna kill him immediately. So Hyacinth is gonna activate the ultimate. gets us a little bit of regeneration. Ika is gonna fly in, and then we are gonna be able to get a kill. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to get an energy on Hyacinth because the thing died a little bit too fast, but that would be just nice enough for us to get into wave 2. Activates our Duns on our E1 Trippy, and then Hyacinth is gonna activate her normal skills, generate healing, generate the additional outgoing healing boost, and at this point, we just want to constantly aim Gepard 600,000 from our E0 as well as Evernight main DPS, getting our Mimi to time in with 97% again. So the moment we get hit from the Manta Ray, it is going to be 100%, and this will then pull up our Evernight from 54 action value, which means we are going to be getting quite a decent amount of action as well as value from Mimi over here, right? So this is going to give us exactly 16. So once again, like I mentioned, we're going to let go of our enhanced attack first, 249k, then activate our ultimate to go for another Mimo Sprite Revive, which is going to be a very nice 416,000 into 85k from the Jellyfish attack. Then from this point, he's going to spawn in this, and now he's going to activate the Revel in Destruction, which is the Dev Sun's mechanic. So you just have to kind of just deal with it. It is what it is. We're going to get hit from the Goldfish, which honestly is a very, very nice form of a additional energy for our team. You do want to let Hyacinth's Ika take the hit first to get rid of the Gepard. So Triby's follow-up gets rid of the Gepard shield. Ika goes in on 426k because of Evernight buffing our entire Remembrance DPS. So every single Remembrance or every single Mimo Sprite is going to be dealing additional damage. 669,000, which is going to be very, very exceptional. Triby goes in for the basic into another Duns, bringing our entire team up just a little bit higher. So Ika is going to just chill here a little bit. We have a lot of skill points. It's not going to be the main concern. And then from this point onwards, we do want to try and save our Mimi ultimate so that we do not waste the additional turn. You can see over here, the action value from Evernight is going to be a 15, so you want to try to stack on an additional action value, or rather an extra turn, immediately after Evernight goes, right? So from this point, it's going to be quite straightforward. The Mimo Sprite is going to, the Manta Ray is almost going to die. Don't worry about it. We're just going to aim Gepard last 5%. Evernight is going to go for the additional skill, 30 out of 16. If this does not kill, we are going to let go of our RMC ultimate to bring us up for another extra turn, which is 100% going to kill. But this is going to be more than enough damage to get us a 0 cycle. So if this was not enough, I would then activate my RMC ultimate, gets to 100% stack, bring up my Evernight once again for another skill into an ultimate, which will be more than sufficient to get us the 0 cycle very, very comfortably for our first 0 cycle over here. Alright, for our next 0 cycle, it is going to feature Lygus with the exact same team, but for Lygus in particular, we are going to be taking a look at the potential of a E1 Evernight over here. So this is going to be running the E1 Evernight, which means we are going to be generating quite a lot more damage because of the additional multipliers from Mimo Sprite. So you're going to be able to see over here, the additional value we're getting is going to be dealing way more damage compared to the previous 0 cycle. Just to see how it goes. Also, just want to pause here. This entire 0 cycle showcase of Evernight is not meant to be like a low-cost showcase or to show her how it's going to be like, because generally speaking, I would say from a 0 cycle perspective, HP scaling DPSs, especially those that are running with a sustained Hyacinth, there are very little room, like I mentioned at the start of the video, to actually manipulate and try to do the best possible timings. So this is strictly just on her performance as a main DPS with their respective idle investments, right? So that's pretty much it. And then we're just gonna go in. This is gonna do 456,000 damage immediately. And then once we're gonna let him summon the goon, so let go of one of our RMC ultimate, slams in, gets the 46% charge for Mimi. Triby is gonna activate this follow-up attack over here, and then we're gonna let go with a 870,000 damage into another follow-up for 42k, and then we're gonna let go of our Triby ultimate state. And at this point, it's gonna be dealing an obscene amount of things. You can see over here, Jellyfish is gonna go in for not too shabby, right? Go in for a basic attack, but the moment Evernight takes a hit over here, you're gonna see the amount of damage you're gonna be dealing very quickly. Even Ika, you can see over here, 795,000 damage from Ika, right? The true damage, the additional multipliers, the E1 value from Evernight truly just makes this a lot high. Also, wait, I need to remove my chat, my bad. Yeah, so as I was saying, 795k, a really good amount of damage. Now, unfortunately, because we are not able to kill this guy with our enhanced skill, it will be a waste of damage. I'm actually going to be opting for a basic attack so that I don't waste my charges for this particular mob, which is still going to be enough to deal with him immediately, right? So now we're going to be at 19 out of 16 stacks, and because we are not going to be in that big of a rush, we can actually generate even more stacks with Hyacinth just to get this up a little bit higher, 511,000 against 3 targets, and then you do want to try to make this stack on to an exact perfect amount for 1.2 million, and immediately after casting our skill, our Mimi brings up my Evernight again to allow me for a second skill cast. Because keep in mind, a very important thing is when Mimi gives Evernight an extra turn, the jellyfish is not the one moving, but rather Evernight. So Evernight is the one giving you the stacks, and the jellyfish is the one where you're going to be dealing the additional damage, right? So you do want to try squeezing as many stacks as possible, especially for a main DPS Evernight. So at this point, we're going to be going for yet another stack game for a grand total of 41 stacks. This will then finally come up to 44, flies in for 1.1 million single target, which is absolutely absurd, gets us the additional auto move on Hyacinth, and at this point against Lygus, I would say for a zero cycle Lygus, it really just depends on who he aims for the additional energy, and luckily for us, it did aim Hyacinth, which means you're going to get off yet another Hyacinth ultimate to generate even more value, even more E-card follow-ups, and then we're just going to heal a little bit more for our entire team. So goes back in for the heal, and then now when he summons the other two goons over here, it's going to transform into the special state, right? So we're let go of our ultimate, goes in for yet another transformation. Very, very nice. And then over here, we're going to activate our Dance, bring our jellyfish up because we are going to be at 16 out of 16. Then we're going to let go of a massive damage against 5 target, which is going to be coming to 1.2 million at only 16 stacks. So the main mechanics with Lygus, I'm pretty sure you guys have also played this by yourselves for now by the time this video goes up. So just deal with the mobs as fast as possible, makes him transform back into the next alternative, which means he's going to take an increased amount of damage, right? Other than that, we're just going to keep getting the value. So the entire Lygus zero cycle, it really just depends if Evernight can get an ultimate, right? If Evernight gets an ultimate, then the entire run becomes a lot easier. You can see 1.5 million damage from Evernight ultimate, and we are getting a lot more value from the jellyfish, which is going to be stacking on quite nicely because we have 3 of the additional enhanced hit over here. So this is going to fly in, booms back down for 2.4 million, instantly cutting off the mobs, and we transform him back to the next phase instantly. As you can see over here, this vulnerability state that just got added, we are now going to be dealing even more damage to Lygus, so we do want to make him transform once again as fast as possible, which means we are going to be able to get the zero cycle right before this entire thing comes out, right? So very satisfying zero cycle. You can see over here a little bit, right? So this is going to be 100%. So unfortunately, I can't really do anything to try to squeeze out additional value from Evernight. So we're going to get an extra turn, and afterwards we're going to be able to summon our goldfish, and this is going to constitute as 1 out of 4. So the goldfish is going to die. Yep, very nice. And then once Evernight gets her ultimate, we're going to be summoning yet another jellyfish, which means that is going to make him at 2 out of 4 over here. So this activates a charge, activates the E-card follow-up attack, and then we're gonna go for our Mimi, and you can see because we summoned our Evernight, we are now gonna be at 2 out of 4 stacks, meaning that at the exact moment when he summons 2 more of the mobs, he's gonna transform once again, which is where it allows us to get the perfect zero cycle, right? So this flies in, jellyfish goes in, and then this is gonna transform, he goes back in, and then he's gonna give us the RNG ultimate. So it depends on who he gives us the ultimate here, so hopefully he lands on Evernight here. If it does not land on Evernight, then you kind of just have to reset again. And okay, unfortunately, it didn't hit, but because we are going to be dealing enough damage, it's still going to give us enough zero cycle because we are at 87% charge for Mimi. So we activate our Mimi ultimate, pull up Evernight, and then Evernight let go of 1 skill, and that is going to get us the perfect zero cycle against Lygus right on the very last edge of the damage value, because if we didn't make him to transform because we killed our jellyfish twice, we summoned them twice, then it would not have been possible, right? So this is going to come down to the final hit. Evernight activates a skill. Okay, at this point, it's just high-key overkill, so I'm just going to let go of our skill one more time. This is going to generate to, I believe, 40 stacks, and combined total 43. Flies back in, last 4%, bada boom, bada bing for 3 million damage, right? It's super overkill. I'm pretty sure this would have been easily possible even without the E1 trippy, but I think for E1, Evernight is going to be holding quite a lot more value. So that is going to be there for the Lygus zero cycle featuring main DPS Evernight. Alright, now we're gonna go on into the next Memory of Chaos, which is going to be coming after this current rotation, featuring Flame Reaver as well as the brand new Judge of Oblivion. Separate video is gonna come out very soon. For this particular zero cycle, we are gonna be using E2 Evernight, right? So this is the power of E2 Evernight to just really see how much more damage and how much charge you're gonna be getting from Memoria. And you can see this team stacking on extremely quickly. I would say that the next upcoming Memory of Chaos, just be prepared because the enemies are definitely gonna be a lot more difficult compared to the current rotation. So just, you know, hold a little bit of memory preparation. So we are gonna be at 16, or rather 26, 29 stacks. So we are gonna be letting go at a massive 65 stacks for a grand total of 1.8 million damage against these 2 targets. Absolutely absurd. And then he's gonna go for his first attack, summon his 2 goons. At this point, it's gonna be quite chill, so we don't really have to worry about it that much because we're definitely gonna be dealing enough damage before we go into Flame Reaver. You can see over here, they are pretty much almost dead, right? And at this point, I was thinking to myself, should I be using my skill or should I be using my basic attack? So we did in fact go for the skill, slamming in our Mimi ultimate to generate us enough charge to prepare for the second wave. Tip is gonna follow up, and at this point, I actually opted for the Tip ultimate, slams in, goes for the bomba, and I'm gonna instantly get rid of all of them because I did not want my Evernight to use her enhanced skill on the mob. Right? I want to save this enhanced skill against Flame Reaver, so you can see we are gonna be at 55 stacks, and once he summons all of his goons and Mimi lets go of his charge, we are already at 63. I'm trying to time this basic such that it's gonna be happening right after, so Evernight takes an action. This is already gonna be at 71 stacks because I killed the first wave with Teep instead of wasting the enhanced skill on the first wave. 74, and then now we're gonna now we're gonna let go of a massive 81 stack, 6.3 million, instantly bringing him to wave 2. Absolutely absurd. Mimi brings me back up again, and I'm gonna activate my skill, activate my ultimate. It's just super giga ultra overkill because we basically got rid of his face almost instantly. The power of E2 Evernight here, and at this point we're gonna slam. I don't think it's quite enough to instantly get out of the zero cycle. Okay, yeah, 1.2 million, still left with 21% HP, but at this point, we're definitely gonna be sufficient to get this out of the way. So Teep is gonna go for one more basic into another dance. Gets a skill over here. Actually, we probably don't even need a dance. I think this is probably gonna be carrying on 15% remaining. Let's see if we get the kill over here. And there it is, no 1% today. So that is gonna be E2 Evernight Zero Cycle against Flame Reaver. Right? Once again, not meant to be relatable, just to show you guys exactly what are the capabilities of this E2 Evernight over here. So E2 S1, everything else is gonna be the exact same. E1 Teep, E0S1 Hyacinth, as well as the Remembrance Trailblazer, right? And then one last Zero Cycle is gonna feature our Judge of Oblivion. Alright, so this is going to be our final Zero Cycle featuring the Judge of Oblivion. I think by the time this video goes, I'm not sure if this goes first or the Judge of Oblivion video comes out first. Generally speaking, I just want to say I tried a lot against this guy, right? So this guy, as you guys would have seen by now, he has a ridiculous amount of toughness bar, and before you break his toughness bar, he's gonna be receiving 50% less damage. So I feel like as a whole, Judge of Oblivion as a boss is really not meant for players to zero cycle because it is almost impossible to break 480 toughness bar, at least realistically speaking, within the 150 action value you're going to be getting from wave 2. So I want to say, if you cannot zero cycle this guy, don't even worry about it because I feel like his entire design is just to take it slow, play with his mechanics, go into wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, because by the time that happens, you should be getting a very comfortable clear the moment you break him, right? So this zero cycle is going to be done with all in, right? So E2 Evernight as well, but we did activate the E2 Tribute as well as even the E1 Hyacinth. So we really went all in just to brute force my way into this guy's specific zero cycle, especially if you're going to be running this with a sustain featuring Hyacinth. It is very difficult to actually get into, so just prepare yourself. So now we're going to get into the actual zero cycle. The mechanic is sort of the same with all of our other zero cycles, which is we want to try to stall wave 1 as much as possible, try to delay all of our damage so that we can go into the next wave against Judge of Oblivion at full energy as well as preferably full skill points as well, so I can spam my Hyacinth skill, spam my Tribute skill, and spam everything. So for the wave 1, you're going to see over here, the main thing that I would say is a little bit different compared to the previous zero cycles is that you actually want to let go of your ultimate first, because you do not want to let Evernight take too many extra turns. Because what's happening here is every single time Evernight takes an extra turn, you can see this Mimi buff, this Mimi's true damage buff actually will wear off very fast. And the thing is, you do want to try to make this at 100% buff uptime so that Evernight gets the 50% true damage buff. You almost never ever want this true damage buff to drop off, which is why we're trying to conserve our turns and then make every single turn deal as much damage as possible by giving it as much stacks as possible, right? So that is gonna be the gimmick. So we're gonna go in here for a whopping 58 stacks into 65, slams in, not activating my Tribute ultimate just yet because like I mentioned, I do want to try to stall this as much as I can to generate enough energy and enough charge, especially for Evernight before going into Judge of Oblivion. Otherwise, it's not possible. I just want to be so transparent. I tried against this boss so many times, but I really had to squeeze out as many action values as I can at the last possible moment. Then I actually got myself the zero cycle. So at this point, you can see we are just gonna stop. We are not even gonna cast our skill. We're just gonna let go of our base attack, and we are gonna make use of Hyacinth, which is gonna be our last mover, to get rid of every single one of these mobs at the last possible moment, so that our Mimi can go into the next wave at 100% charge, right? So this is like super precise. You can see we are gonna be at 95, slamming 98, and at this point over here, you can see I'm at exactly 100% Mimi charge. If this does not kill, right? If E-card does not kill, the zero cycle will not happen. You actually want to conserve this 100% charge for the next wave so that we can get the highest amount of value possible. Refreshing my Evernight buff instantly, you can see we only have 1 turn remaining, so it is absolutely pivotal. You get this to 100%, and then Hyacinth flies in with the E-card, 709k, gets rid of the double kill, and then we can go into wave 2 with basically everything maxed out. So we really have to squeeze out everything in our arsenal to actually get this zero cycle, because like I mentioned, this boss is not meant to be zero cycle. So we're gonna get an extra value advance. We refresh our true damage buff, and at this point is where we can start dealing all of our damage numbers, right? So we did in fact activate our Ego 4-piece for RMC because we do need him to be pseudo 200 speed and above. So we get this to be the additional action value advance. Bring this up right behind our Evernight. Gets our skill is gonna be 80 stacks. Slams in after our remembrance. Sorry, slams in after our E card gets the ultimate off to get even more stacks. This is gonna be 88. Flies with another T follow up. 91 stacks goes in for a little bit more. 91 goes in finally for 98 stacks. Slams in for 1.7 million damage, right? Because this team is not possible to kill him by breaking his tolerance bar. It's literally just impossible to break this within one wave, or rather 0 cycles. So you're just gonna be dealing raw damage. And keep in mind, this is after 50% damage reduction. So realistically speaking, this would normally be 3.5 million, or rather 3.4 million. But because of the debuff, or rather the buff that he has, we are just gonna be brute forcing this very, very hard, right? So it's 1.7 million, slams in, gets us as much charge as possible. Now we start rebuilding our energy, rebuilding our skills, goes back in for Ika follow-up attack. He's gonna aim T. This is gonna be complete RNG, so don't have to worry about it too much. Summons the chickens, we're just gonna completely ignore, gets us our skills to 44 stacks again, and then hopefully this gets us the kill. Yes, we do at 2 million, and this is gonna be going into phase 2. He slams in for his AoE, and then he summons the chicken again. So once he summons the chicken, we're just gonna let go of our ultimate. Bring this back up to 861k. T follows up, gets rid of both of the chickens. Very, very nice. Jellyfish is gonna go in for another little bit of a follow-up attack. This is gonna be 32 charge, 516k. Mimi gets us to almost 100%. So we're just gonna go here for the base. Okay, I went for the skill because I want to get another charge, but I don't think I'm going to be getting another action anyways, so I don't think it would have mattered. So we go back in for yet another skill for 43 stacks, slams this back in, back down to the last 34%. Hyacinth gets the heal, gets a little bit of a follow-up attack. Tip goes in for one last hit over here, and then we're going to be able to activate our DDD. Activates DDD, brings up my entire thing, and see over here, that will be my final action, and we will be getting the 0 cycle on this very, very last Evernight rotation, right? So he's going to take a hit, aim Evernight, so Evernight loses HP, which means we're gonna getting a little bit more Memoria. Don't worry about it, you wouldn't die because we are gonna be getting Mimi, right? We're gonna be getting Hyacinth, HP scaling DPS, so we're definitely not gonna die over here. Gets us the ultimate, refreshes our HP buff, and then at 19 out of 16 stacks, Iga goes for one more action. He's at last 20% HP, and then Evernight gets one more skill off, and that will be the 0 cycle with a little bit more action remaining. Actually, now that you can take a look at it, we activate our ultimate. This is gonna be 74%. I think if I didn't get a 0 cycle here, if I cast skill on RMC one more time, I would have gotten the Mimi regardless, right? So this goes in, and if this did not kill, Mimi brings up for another additional action, so we would have definitely killed. So I would say it is definitely overkill here at 1.2 million, because I'm pretty sure if we did not hit, maybe this is a 99% charge to get one more action, then it is what it is. Then just grind the RG a little bit more, but that will be our 0 cycle against Judge of Oblivion. Again, once I said, this is not meant to be relatable because this boss is anti-0 cycle. He literally takes 50% less damage because you did not break his winner's bar. We completely ignore the winner's bar mechanic just to see how a E2 Evernight team is going to be performing with all of these different DPS vertical investments. So that is going to be pretty much it for our Quadra 0 cycle over here. So this is going to be our setup. Evernight running the 138 speed-ish with the brand new 4-piece, the 2-piece. E2 S1 all the way towards the end. We started off with E0 S1. Team is going to be running the standard team over here. We did get this E2 just to increase our damage a little bit more, but I would say this is definitely an overkill, especially for the Judge of Oblivion. So E1 would have definitely sufficed. This is going to be our RMC. We actually slept on in Hyacinth Signature Lycon with the 4-piece Ego, ridiculous amount of speed, and then this finally is going to be our E1 S1 Hyacinth. So that is going to pretty much it for our Quadra 0 cycle. One last time, not meant to be relatable. 0 cycling with Evernight definitely needs a ridiculous amount of vertical investment because most HP scaling DPS, they are not really designed to 0 cycle anyways because they're all running for sustain. So take it as you will, but I kind of just want to show you guys at E2 S1 Evernight, her damage capabilities are definitely up there, definitely comparable even with Casuals herself. So maybe potentially in the future, if Cyrene comes out, replace Tribi with Cyrene, Quadra remembers, who knows how the performance is going to be like. So I'll let you guys decide for yourself. With that, we have come to the end of today's content. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Smash that subscribe and like button and share with all of your friends. Word of the day is going to be Join Twitch, join YouTube, join Discord, join TikTok, and join Twitter. Join on Patreon for all of our anime UX. Use code POKEMON for 10% off. Game yourselves all the best for your gacha boys. And I will see you guys next time. Take care.